As I'm sure many of you know, this is Chattering Bone, an older weapon available from the last Wish raid. I have the Curated Roll and it's been a mainstay in my Guardian's inventory for a long time. And as of right now, this weapon belongs to a very rare archetype. I didn't realize this until recently, but it's the only non-sunset lightweight kinetic pulse rifle in the game currently. Matter of fact, the only other true lightweight pulse is the Ogma PR6, sitting in the energy slot. So there's only two. Now we do have exotics like Bad Juju and Outbreak, or the Battler for that matter, that share the same 450 RPM fire rate and damage profile. But they're not lightweight frames. Lightweight pulse rifles, at this point in time, are extremely scarce. But if you do have the curated Chattering Bone, it also has a perk combination that's not available on any other primary weapon, which we'll be exploring coming up. On top of those things, and the main reason I wanted to re-review this weapon at this point in time, back a few seasons ago, 450 RPM pulse rifles did see a decent buff. They got a bump to their physical range, and their damage output in PvP was slightly improved upon. And while that damage only went from 24.75 to 26.4 per crit, a small amount at a glance, it's actually much more beneficial if you dig a little bit deeper. So even though Chattering Bone's been around, I really feel like it deserves some consideration now, especially in the Crucible. So we'll dive into it and see what it can do. And if you do end up enjoying this video, like, subscribe, share it with some friends. It really helps out the content and the channel, and it is always greatly appreciated. But let's hop in with a look at Chattering Bone's stats and perks. Chattering Bone, as stated before, is a legendary kinetic pulse rifle firing at 450 rounds per minute. It has 33 rounds in the magazine and a recoil direction of 57. And being a lightweight frame, it is a very agile weapon, and you will move faster when the gun is in hand. For the stats, they will vary if you're looking at a different perk roll, but the curated roll does drop with corkscrew rifling, a light mag, and a range masterwork. So here we're looking at very strong marks in handling and reload speed. The base aim assist sits at a respectable 71, boosted to 76 here by the targeting adjuster mod. The 17 in the zoom stat makes it one of the lower zoom pulse rifles, a good or a bad thing depending on your perspective. The base range actually comes in at 31, which is a bit low, but with the perks and the masterwork, we're looking at 53, plenty serviceable. The stability at 57 is average, while the airborne effectiveness and recoil direction do leave a little bit to be desired. For the performance perks, here's everything available to the weapon as a standard drop, and it's not a bad perk pool overall. I mean, you could definitely pick out a few winners in there, but in my personal opinion, it's only the curated roll that makes Chattering Bone a standout weapon. You're getting double damage perks. And yes, 2 weapon-bound damage buffs do stack, and these perks will overlap. High impact reserves. On the bottom half of the magazine, you'll see about a 12 to 25% damage increase in PvE, and a 3 to 6% damage bump in PvP. And then Kill Clip, which is not available in the standard perk pool. And it is a top tier damage perk, always has been, a 33.3% damage increase when reloading after a kill. Unfortunately, the only way to get Chattering Bone's curated roll is to have it drop from one of the ethereal key chests at the end of the last Wish raid. So it's not really a weapon that's readily accessible to everyone. But moving on to the PvE section for an overview of the weapon's functionality and damage output. And with Chattering Bone being a legendary weapon, there's not a whole lot to touch on from a utility standpoint. But here's a look at the bullet pattern and recoil. I'm just spamming these shots out with no attempt to control the weapon whatsoever. And it doesn't climb all that much as the weapon is fired, which is a big plus. But because of that 57 in the recoil direction stat, it does start to pull right with sustained fire. For the reload speeds, I'm able to reload and fire this weapon with this roll in 1.51 seconds, and with a single pulse rifle loader mod equipped, we can knock that down to 1.22. Be aware that mileage will vary for reload and recoil if you're looking at an alternate weapon roll. Our damage perks. Kill Clip will activate when reloading after a kill and has about a 5-second total duration. But after securing the kill, you have about a 4-second window to reload and activate the perk. High Impact Reserves, on the other hand, has no on-screen indicator. But the weapon will flash and you will get an audio cue when the magazine reaches half, letting you know that the perk has kicked in. And that's all I got for you in that respect, so onto the damage testing. But as always, do keep in mind,
PvE damage numbers are variable and will change depending on content scaling or enemy tier. This is why I try to keep all of my testing in the Conflux Lost Sector on Nessus versus Karl the Colossus, to keep these damage numbers consistent and comparable from video to video.
Alright, just at base versus Karl, we're looking at 1,409 points of damage on a crit and 851 to the body. So just to establish an archetypical baseline, if every shot in a 33 round magazine were to land as a base crit, that's 46,497 points of damage. I have the time to empty clocked at 4.12 seconds, putting the damage per second at 11,286. And I'll give you a fire rate up and a fire rate down, just for a basis of comparison. A 540 RPM rapid fire pulse rifle hits for 1,262 on a crit. If we normalize things at a 33 round magazine, that's a max damage of 41,646. I have the time to empty clocked in here at 3.48 seconds, so single mag damage per second, 11,976. With a 390 RPM adaptive pulse rifle, we're looking at 1,674 per crit. With a 33 round mag, that's 55,242 points of damage. Time to empty in this case sits just under 4.82 seconds, so single mag damage per second, 11,461. Takeaway here? Well, the general rule of thumb is, as the fire rate decreases, the damage goes up, but the damage per second goes down. Lightweight pulses actually come up on the wrong side of this exception. The total damage sits right in between the two archetypes, as it should, but in terms of damage per second, it's outclassed by both of them. Not by enough to make a huge difference, but still a little bit. Good news is though, we have those damage perks to lean on. Now, can other pulse rifles roll with kill clip? Sure. High impact reserves? Absolutely. Both of them at the same time? No. Shattering Bone's the only one. With kill clip alone, crits go to 1,878 points of damage, up 33.3% from base. So that's 61,974 in terms of single mag damage, and 15,042 for the damage per second. With just high impact reserves, the first round after the perk procs, which would be when there's 16 rounds remaining, hits for 1,580. That's 12% more damage, and it maxes out at 1,772, a 25.8% damage increase. The increase isn't exactly linear though. There's bigger jumps and smaller jumps as bullets continue to land. So I just grabbed all the values and added them up, which came out to 50,404 points of damage. That's 12,234 for the damage per second with just high impact reserves. When both perks are combined though, the first 17 bullets just get the 33.3% increase from kill clip. The last 16 are affected by both damage multipliers. In-game damage goes from 2,106 to 2,361. Max single mag damage, 65,227, damage per second, 15,832. The max damage sees a 56.6% improvement from the base value, and we're seeing about 4,500 points of damage more in terms of damage per second. And considering we're looking at a legendary primary, that's not too shabby. For Chattering Bone's performance, I really don't have a whole lot to say. It's an ad clearing primary. Kill clip really helps it be more efficient in that respect, especially given the fact it does have a pretty fast reload. And while high impact reserves isn't the most impressive damage perk available, it's not kill activated. So if you're unloading on a tankier red bar, like a Gladiator, a Knight, or a Colossus, you're still getting some sort of improved damage. Then Chattering Bone does sit in the kinetic slot, so if you have a nice elemental well build setup, you might not have to worry about this weapon disrupting it too much. And then there's almost always some sort of anti-champion pulse rifle mod in the seasonal artifact. So you definitely can take it into content where champions are present. But the weapon's range and damage profile kind of puts it in a weird spot. It's a fast firing pulse, so it is good from medium close to medium long range. Like between 15 and 30 meters, that's kind of the sweet spot. But it doesn't quite have the range to compete with weapons like scout rifles or bows. So in high-end content, it might not be as appealing. On the other end of the spectrum, it doesn't have the close range burst damage potential to compete with weapons like sidearms or SMGs. So it kind of just lives somewhere in the middle. And unfortunately in certain scenarios, in Destiny 2, the middle can be synonymous with mediocre. But at the same time, there's plenty of activities and encounters in Destiny 2 where Chattering Bone can perform just fine. Moving on to the PvP section, where we do have exact numbers to work off of. Both a blessing and a curse. We get to circumvent the in-game number rounding, but this also allowed me to be extremely detailed with my testing, and it might be a little much. If it is and you do prefer a more simplified overview of what a weapon's capable of, let me know down in the comments. Or if you're someone who likes all the deep, dark, and gritty details, let me know that too. But in-game, crits are showing for 27, true value 26.4. Body shots are showing for 16. Perfect, that is their true value. So at base, our optimal time to kill comes in at 0.87 seconds. You're going to need 7 crits and 1 body shot versus Guardians running tier 5 resilience or higher. 6 crits and 2 body shots versus tier 4 or lower. The body shot time to kill comes in at 1.6 seconds with 13 shots landed, versus tier 7 resilience or higher. Versus tier 6 resilience or lower, 1.3 seconds with 12 shots, eliminating the need for the 5th burst. High impact reserves doesn't move things around a whole lot, but it can help in a few ways. Crits are going to hit for 28, bodies will land for 17, with the last 4 rounds at least. But this will let you go 6 crit and 2 body to match the base optimal time to kill of 0.87 versus tier 7 resilience guardians or higher. You can go 0.83 with 7 crits versus tier 6 or lower though, dropping the bullets needed to kill by 1. The body shot time to kills don't change, but it does let you climb the resilience ladder a little bit. You can hit that 1.3 here against anyone running tier 8 or less. Now if you have kill clip activated, 2 burst kills become a serious possibility. Crits go up to 35.2, and body shots are at 21.3. The optimal time to kill is going to be 0.53 seconds. You'll need 6 crits versus tier 9 resilience or higher, but it's a little more friendly versus tier 8 or lower, where you only need 5 crits in one body. The body shot time to kill is going to be 1.22, with 10 shots landed versus tier 6 or higher. Versus tier 5 or lower though, 9 shots, 3 bursts, 0.91 seconds. But what if we roll in kill clip with a 15% damage increase from, say, high energy fire or an empowering rift? Crits are going to land for 40.3, and body shots, 24.4. Optimal time to kill in this case, 0.48 seconds with 5 crits, versus any resilience tier. Your high-end body shot time to kill is going to be 0.91 versus Guardians running tier 8 resilience or more. You'll only need 8 bullets to land if they're running tier 7 resilience or lower. Achievable in 0.87 seconds, matching the base optimal. Something to take note of here also though, versus Guardians running tier 7 resilience or lower, you can 2-burst them with 3 crits and 3 bodies in 0.53 seconds. Now, there's a ton of other combinations to be had here. I mean, we could roll high impact reserves in with kill clip, high impact reserves in with the 15% damage increase, smash all 3 together and see what we come up with, and I did. I did all those things. And honestly, we could be here another hour talking about it. But it's really only going to adjust things by a bullet here, a bullet there, maybe a little more resilience forgiveness. And yeah, in niche cases, it can help. But you're not going to see anything crazy like a 1-burst kill. It can't happen. Physical range, this weapon is going to experience damage drop-off past the 35.5 meter mark. Nice thing about pulse rifles though, once they get out past that threshold, the damage drop-off is more gradual than that of other weapon classes. You can see here out at 45 meters, 10 meters past the optimal range, I'm still able to secure a 3-burst kill. And then, it is a lightweight frame weapon as well though, so you are able to sprint faster. Even giving Agent Sparkles a little bit of a head start in a foot race, I'm still eventually able to overtake her. With our non-lightweight 450s like Battler, Bad Juju, or Outbreak, you're not getting this benefit. So with Chattering Bone, you're going to be able to get around the map faster. You can get to a point quickly to engage a target, or break away from an engagement more effectively if things go south, and get yourself back to a safe place. So it's just a very useful passive benefit of all lightweight frame weapons. Then we got a nice big sight glass on this weapon. The frame itself could be a little bit thinner, but you do get a nice picture when aiming down sights. And then I do like the 450 RPM fire rate. The burst cadence just feels natural to me. 540s can feel a bit spammy, 390s for me can feel a bit sluggish, 450s kind of find that sweet spot for me. It's my personal opinion, but something to consider. And this weapon does handle closer to mid-range engagements quite well. It feels plenty accurate as long as you're not asking a bit too much out of it. And then the high aim assist on this weapon is tangible. Those bullets like to catch targets. And it ain't me, I can promise you that. I'm not one of your top tier Crucible players. The gun itself is doing a lot of the work. Then you also have the very good marks in handling and reload speed. So you're going to see quicker transitions on and off of this weapon, and you can get more rounds in the gun fast to get you back in the fight in a timely manner. And then the damage when kill clip is procced. It becomes a 2-burst machine, and Lord help your enemies if you have a damage buff rolling alongside of it. I mean, dropping enemies in half a second at 30 meters can feel borderline unfair. And that lets you go on some serious streaks if enemies keep popping into your line of sight to challenge you. And on top of that, 3-burst body shot kills become a reality, so you're getting lethality and forgiveness. There are some drawbacks though. That base time to kill at 0.87 seconds is not extremely fast, and does require a fairly high crit percentage to achieve it versus high resilience Guardians. So you do run the risk of just being flat out outgunned by another weapon. In the same vein, that 1.6 second body shot time to kill versus high resilience Guardians is abysmally slow. Worst in the weapon class. And Chattering Bone's other damage perk, High Impact Reserves, doesn't play a huge role. It only has a minimal impact on the weapon's damage, and you're constantly reloading the mag because of kill clip if you got yourself on a good streak. If you do happen to get down toward the bottom of the weapon's magazine, maybe you can sneak out a kill that you otherwise wouldn't have secured, but it's just not something that I think can be relied upon most of the time. So the thing that's carrying most of the load here is kill clip. And given the fact that this is a weapon from an old raid, and you need to see the curated roll drop to get kill clip, acquiring this weapon can be a serious pain for many players. But hey, if you got one sitting around in your vault, pull it out, try it out, use it. Give it a go in Iron Banner this week. Chattering Bone is feeling very strong post-damage buff. And that's coming from a less proficient PvP player. The gun's good, it's treating me really well right now, definitely give it a try in the Crucible. And if you did enjoy this video, please remember to drop it a like and consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel for more Destiny 2 content in the near future. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, Ironworker814 over there. I do my best to steer clear of all the standard BS on that platform, and post things with a little more fun or lighthearted vibe. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon breakdown. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.